So in this video, we're going to explore Notion buttons, exactly what they do and how we can use them. So here's a quick example of a button. So this one is a really simple button where you click the button and it will insert a pre-made to-do list. So every time I click this button, we will get the exact same to-do list. So this one is actually a very simple button. There are actually so many more use cases for buttons where they can really advance your workspace, automate processes, and really save you a lot of time. So firstly, what exactly do Notion buttons do? So with just a single click of a button, you could add a new page to a database. You could insert text or blocks. You could edit the properties of certain pages within a database. You could open a specific page in a database. You could show a confirmation. And the one thing that makes these buttons so powerful is these multi-step automations. So this essentially means that you can do multiple steps within one button. So for example, we could add a new page to a database and at the same time insert text or blocks and edit the properties of a certain page in a different database. You can add as many of these together as you want in just one button. Okay, so let's move into some examples. So one of the use cases of buttons is to add a new page to a database. So in this example, we have a very simple expense tracker that tracks the name of the expense, the date that it was paid, and the cost, and at the bottom it will total the sum of all the expenses. So one thing that would really level up this tracker would be if we could add regular expenses that we pay every month that are always the same price really quickly. So instead of having to type out, for example, rent, the date, and the cost, wouldn't it be great if you could click a button and it would automatically add that to the database for you? Well, with buttons you can. So I've set up a couple of buttons with regular expenses. So if I click this button, add rent, so as you can see, it's added this row to the tracker. So it's already labeled it rent, it's already inputted today's date, and it's inputted the exact cost for me. Again, if I click this add Netflix, it will do the exact same thing. It automatically adds a regular bill onto my tracker. So this is really handy. It will save you a lot of time if you use this kind of database. So I'm going to quickly just show you how you can do this for yourself. So the first thing we want to do is type in /button and click on this button block. So next you want to give your button a name. So in this example, let's add a phone bill. You can then pick an icon. So I'm just going to put a quick icon. Then you want to click add a step. So in this case, we want to add a page to the below database. So we're going to click this add page to. Next it's going to ask us to select a database. So which database do we want to add a page to? So in this case, we want to add it to our expense tracker. You can then give this new page a name. So in this case, we always want it to be our phone bill. So I'm going to call it phone bill. You then want to click on this edit another property to add another one. So for example, let's add the date. So I want this to be set to the current date. So whenever I click that button, I want it to populate the date with today. So I can do that. So I'm going to click on today. Then we're going to click on edit another property. And finally, we're going to edit this cost. So let's just say my phone bill is $50 a month. I'll type in 50. And that's it. So once you're happy with that, you can click done. And now I'm going to add this phone bill. So there we go. As you can see, it's added the phone bill, it's populated it with today's date, and it's included the cost of $50. So another way that we can use the buttons is to add multiple pages to a database at once. So in the first example, we were adding just one item to our expense tracker. But here I'm going to show you how you can add multiple items all in one go. So in this example, we have a daily task list. So as you can see, it's got the name of the task, the date, and a checkbox. So once I start checking these checkboxes, these daily tasks will disappear as I complete them. So let's just say that I come back, it's the next day, and I want to add my daily tasks, but I don't want to have to do that every single day. So I've created this add daily tasks button where I click it and it will automatically add my daily tasks that I like to complete every single day. So to create this button, we're going to type in /button. I'm going to give it a name, so I'm going to call it add daily tasks. And I'm also going to choose an icon. So in this case, I'm just going to choose this plus symbol. Okay. Next, I'm going to click add a step. So in this case, we want to add a page and I have to select the database. So in this case, it is our task list. So the first thing it's going to ask me to do is give it a name. So these are going to be the daily tasks that I want to complete every day. So I'm just going to add edit video. So next I'm going to add another property. So I also want this to come up with today's date. So I'm going to select date and set it to today. So whenever I click that button, it will add the date as the current date. So next I want to add another step. So I now want to add another page. So I'm going to click add page. Again, selecting the same database, our task list. Then going to give this one a name. So the next one is walk dog. Again, click edit another property, date, and we're going to set that to today as well. So you're going to want to click this add another step and add in all of the tasks that you want to complete every single day. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay, so at the end it should look something like this. I've added each of the daily tasks as a separate step in my button. So once you're happy with it, you can click done. Okay, so I'll just tick these ones off so it's empty again. So this is the button we just created. So if I click that button, it will pre-populate all of the daily tasks for me to use for the next day. Okay, so another way that I can use these buttons is by creating a dashboard. So let's just say that in my Notion space, I have various different databases with various different purposes. So for example, I have my journal entries, an expense tracker, and a daily task list. So I want to easily be able to add things from my homepage into these databases without physically going into every single database. So up here I have my dashboard, so I'll just show you how this works. So if I click this add new journal entry button, so it will open up a little side peek for me to write my journal entry. So let's just say that this is a daily reflection. It's already pre-populated with today's date, and I can use this space here to write the actual journal entry. When I'm done, I can close it down, and as we can see under journal entries, here it is, it's right there, and I've not touched the database at all. The button has added it all for me. So theoretically, you could have this journal entries database on a completely separate page, and you could have this button on your homepage or your dashboard, and you can add journal entries from the dashboard without ever going into the actual database. Similarly, I could add a new task. So I've got my task list down here, so I could add a new task. Let's just say that I need to study some math and close that down. So if I then go down to my task list, as you can see, it's already added that to my task list with today's date, and I can just tick that off once it's complete. So to create this button, we're going to type in /button. I'm going to add a page because we want to add a new page to the database. I'm going to select which database. So in this one, I'll do the journal entries one so that we can add a new journal entry. It's going to ask for the name, so in this case I'm going to leave this blank because this is going to depend on what type of journal entry I'm writing, so I'm going to leave that blank so I can fill it in when I actually add the entry. We're going to edit another property. I'm going to select date and put that as today, so it'll pre-populate today's date. We then want to add one more step, so this one we want to open a page. So because this is a journal entry, obviously I need it to open my journal entry page so I can actually write the entry. So you need to select open page. So you want to click this select page and click this new page added. So this will automatically pull up the page that you've just created so you can write the journal entry. And then we can select where we want the page to open. So I'm going to put the side peek so that it just comes up to the side and doesn't take over the whole page. Then I'm going to give it a name, so I'll just put add new journal entry and choose an icon. And once you're happy, you can click done. So I'll just show you how this works. So if I click this button, as you can see, it's opened up a side peek, so I can put journal entry, and then as you can see, it's added that to our journal entries database. Okay, so another way that you can use buttons is by inserting text or blocks onto a page. So this is one of the more simple ways that buttons can work, but it's still really effective and really useful. So as an example, I've created this button, which is a meeting notes template. So let's say every time I want to have a meeting, say with my team, I can generate a pre-made template. So if I just click this button, as you can see, it's added in my meetings note template, and I can just fill this in throughout the meeting. So this one's actually pretty easy. So we're going to add a new button /button. This one we're going to select insert blocks. So in this box, you can either copy and paste something that you've already made within Notion, or you can just type it straight into here. So for example, I can put in a H2 and put meeting notes and agenda. So you can obviously add the full template in here. So once you're happy with it, just give it a name and an icon, and then click done. So now when I click this button, it will bring up my pre-made template. So this type of button is really, really handy because you can add things like to-do lists or templates, as I've done here. They're really versatile and fairly simple to do. So another way that you can use buttons is to edit the properties of pages within a database. So this is actually probably one of the more powerful and useful things that buttons can do, but it is a little bit tricky, so I'll show you how to do them. So in this example, we have a habit tracker. So I do actually have an entire video where I show you how to make this exact habit tracker. I'll link it in the description box below. So it's really simple. You just tick off the habits that you've completed that day, and the progress bar will show you how you're doing. You can automate this process by creating buttons like these. So for example, if I click this journal button, it's automatically ticking the habit tracker for me. So this would work really well if you had these buttons on, for example, a home page or a dashboard, and the habit tracker might be on a different page, you don't necessarily have to go to the habit tracker page to tick off your habits, which is really useful. I've also taken this a step further by adding this all completed button. So if you click that, it will automatically tick all of the habits for the current day. So this again is really helpful. Rather than having to click 4 individual habits, you can just click one button and it will all be done for you. And the best thing about this is that these buttons will only amend the current day. So if I tick this button, it's ticking the meditate option, but it's not ticking that option on any other day. It's set to only amend the habits for the current day. So now I'm going to show you how to create one of these buttons. So I'm just going to add a new button here, /button. Then we're going to select edit pages in, and we need to select the database. So this one is our habit tracker. Next, it's going to ask me which pages I want to edit. So as I said, I definitely don't want to edit every single page, else if I click say journal, it will tick the journal box on every single day. I just want it to tick the box on the current day. So if I change it from all pages, under here I can set a filter. So instead of name, we're going to go with date. And if I change this to is today, so it says the date is today, then I want to edit a property. So the property I want to edit is journal, and I want to make it checked. I'm then just going to give it a name, so I'm just going to call it journal and choose an icon, and then I'm going to click done. So if I now click this button, as you can see, it's ticking the journal box, and it's only ticking the journal box on today. So you can do the same thing for all of the other habits. So now I'm going to show you how to create the all completed button. So /button, and we're going to edit pages in. So again, we need to select the database. So this one is going to be the habit tracker. Again, we don't want it to edit every single page in the habit tracker. We just want to edit today's data. So I'm going to change this to date is today. Then I want to edit a property. So we'll start with journal. I want that to become checked. I can then edit another property. So I'll do meditate. That one needs to be checked. And you just want to add all of your daily habits and do the same thing. Okay, so once you've added them all, you can just give the button a name. So I'm going to call it all completed. And I'm going to add an icon. And once you've done that, you can click done. So now if I click this button, it will tick all of the boxes on today's daily habits. So here's another example of how we can use buttons to edit the properties of pages within a database. So in this example, we have a team task list. So in this column, we have all of the different tasks that a certain team would like to complete. And in this column, they are labeled as a certain type of task. So for example, a research task, a marketing task, a product development task, and the assigned to column is empty. So essentially what we want to do is assign these tasks to a certain colleague. So one way that we can do that is to create buttons like these that will automatically assign the task to you if you click this button. So for example, if I click this button, it will assign the research tasks to whoever clicks the button. So if I click this button, it's assigned this research tag to myself. If I click the marketing one, it's assigned the marketing tasks to me. So one of the great things about this button is that it will assign the task to whoever clicks the button. So if someone else clicks the button, it will assign it to them instead. So I'm going to show you how you can create this button for yourself. So let's do the product development one. So /button. So we want to edit pages in because I want to edit the page here within this database. Select the database. So this one is my team tasks database. Now it's going to ask me which pages I want to edit. So this one I'm going to do the product development task. So I only want to edit pages that are labeled as product development. So instead of clicking on all pages, I can create a filter. Instead of name, I want to filter by task type, and it's currently set to is, so I'm going to select an option. So I want to only amend tasks where the task type is product development. So you do need to be quite careful with these filters because it can change a lot of things within a database. So for example, if you didn't add this filter correctly, it might assign every single task in the list to yourself. So you need to be careful to make sure you actually select the correct filter. So now that we've added that filter, I can now edit a property. So the property that I want to edit is this assigned to. So I want to assign it to myself. So we're going to select replace with, and you can click on person who clicked the button, which is really handy. So whoever clicks that button, their name will be put into the assigned to category. And that's it. So I'm just going to give it a quick name. So I want to assign the product development tasks and just give it a icon. And once you're done, you can click done. So now if I click this button, as you can see, it's assigned the 3 product development tasks to myself. So this would be really handy in team situations. Okay, so another way that we can use buttons is to open a specific page. So this could be a page that is anywhere in your Notion space, but you can open it from any page just by clicking a button. So one really useful use case for this is a back to homepage button. So I tend to put these on pretty much every single page within my Notion space because it's just really handy to be able to head back to your homepage in just one click. So as an example, I've created this quick little homepage with a few different databases on it. So let's just say that I'm in a random page on my workspace and I want to easily navigate back to the homepage. I can add a button like this. And when I click it, it will take me straight back to my homepage. So you could put that button on every single page in your workspace to really make the navigation super simple. So this button is really, really simple. So I'm going to type /button. We are going to open a page. You can then select the page. So in this case, we want the home page. It will then ask you where you want the page to open. So we're going to put full page because for this, we want it to navigate us to the full page. We don't just want it to open in a side peek or a center peek. So full page. I'm then going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it back to home page and I'm going to select an icon. So in this case, I'm just going to use this arrow and click done. So now if I click this button, it should take me back to the home page. So you could use this for any page within your workspace. It doesn't necessarily have to be a home page. It could be literally any page that you want. So another feature of buttons that I really love is that you can add a confirmation. So this is essentially where you click a button like this and it will ask you a question. So you can either answer yes, which means yes, I want to go ahead and do the action. Or if you click no, it will cancel the button. So this is really great, especially if you have, for example, a team that works within a Notion space. You can ensure that people aren't just clicking buttons and altering things within the database without really meaning to. So in this example, I have a list of YouTube videos that I've created and uploaded to YouTube. If I wanted to add a new video, I could click this button, but it's asking me, have you added a description, a custom thumbnail, and chapters? If I have, then great, I can click yes. And as you can see, it's adding a new page for me, so I can add another video here. So for example, how to add icons to Notion. But if I click this button and then answer no, as you can see, nothing has been added. The button action was cancelled. So that's a really useful feature if you just want to double check something before actually doing the action. Okay, so to add this video, I'm just going to type in /button. And in this case, we want to show a confirmation. It will then come up with this pre-populated question, are you sure you want to continue? So you can either keep this question or you can write your own. So in this case, I'm just gonna add my own question. So after you've added the question, you can also change the writing that is on the actual button. So it will automatically come up with continue for the button that completes the action or cancel for the button that stops the action, but you can change this to whatever you want. So for the question that I've added, did you add a description, thumbnail, and chapters? I think a yes and no button would be more appropriate. So I'm just going to change these buttons to yes and no. Okay, so that's our confirmation. So then after the confirmation, I want the button to do the action if the person clicks yes. So I'm going to add a step so we know what we should do if that person clicks yes. So in this case, I want to add a page to the database below. So that database is going to be the YouTube videos database. So I'm going to leave the name blank because that's going to depend on the YouTube video that I filmed. So I want to fill that in myself when I actually add the video. I'll then click edit another property and I'm just going to add the published date as the current day. So if I click today, it will add the current date. And then I just want to add one more step of open page. So in this case, I do need to add a few more details to the page once I add it. In this case, it will be the name of the video. So I do want to open the new page that I've added at the end. And I want that page to open in the side peek so it doesn't take up too much room. Okay, so once you've done that, you can give your button a name. So I'm just going to call mine add new YouTube video. And I'm going to give it an icon. In this case, I'm just going to click this plus symbol. And once you've done that, you can click done. Okay, so this is the new button that we just created. So if I click that button, it will ask me my confirmation. If I click no, the action has been cancelled. And if I click yes, it will allow me to add a new YouTube video and that appears in my database. So the final thing I want to tell you about with Notion buttons is multi-step automations. So this is essentially where you can combine pretty much everything I've shown you in this video into one button. So as an example, I could add a page to a database and I could edit a property in a different database all by clicking just one button. So it's really, really powerful. You can create some really advanced automations by combining different features together within one button. So here's a simple example of how that would work. So here we can see our habit tracker. So I used this earlier in the tutorial. We just use it to track our daily habits. So one of the habits I have on here is journal. So I want to add a journal entry every single day. And below here, I have the actual journal entries database. So when I click this add new journal entry button, what it will do is it will automatically tick this journal checkbox in my daily habits for the current day, and it will add a journal entry into the journal entries database. So let me show you how that works. So I click the button. It will open up this side peek where I can write my journal entry. So let's just put today's journal, and I can then write my journal entry in here. Once I'm done with that, I can close it off. So as you can see under the habit tracker, journal has now been ticked for today. And if I scroll down to journal entries, we have today's journal showing up. So that's how it would work. So now I'm going to show you how you can create this for yourself. We type in button. So the first thing I want to do is edit the journal checkbox in my habit tracker. So I'm going to select edit pages in and select the database. So this one is my calendar habit tracker. I then need to decide which pages to edit. So like we did earlier, I only want it to edit today's habit tracker. So I'm going to change this to date, change this to is, and leave it as today. So the date is today, so I'll only edit this today property. Next, I want to choose which property to edit. So I want it to edit the journal checkbox, and I can select what I want it to do. So I want it to change the journal checkbox to checked. Then I want to add another step. So next I want to add a page to my journal entries database. So select the database, it's journal entries. I'm going to leave the name blank because that's going to depend on what journal entry I'm writing today. I want to edit another property. I just want to add the date and select today. So then I just need to add one more step. I need to open a page. So when I add this page to the journal entries, I also need to open the page so that I can actually write the journal entry. So I want to open the new page that I've just added. And I want to open that into the side peek so that it doesn't take up too much of the page. So I'm just going to give this a name. So I'm going to put add new journal entry and select an icon. I'm just going to use the plus symbol and then I'll click done. Okay, so then if I click this button, it will open up my side peek. So I'm just type in entry 1. So I can write my entry in here. If I close this, we can see the checkbox for today has been checked, and entry 1 now appears in our database. And that's it. That's everything you need to know about Notion buttons. So as I said, you can do some really powerful things with Notion buttons. You can create some really advanced automations within your Notion space, and I'd love to create a follow-up video later down the line where I show you some of the more advanced things that you can do with buttons. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for that video. You can also check out my pre-made Notion templates on my Etsy store. The link will be in the description box below.